Hello and welcome to the 2023 interview series. I'm Sabrina Schottenhamel, and I'm excited to have this ongoing series of interviews with my dear friends and fellow entrepreneurs. So I have Arsemiris Galva with me today, and I hope I said that right. Sometimes I think I say it right, and then I hear you say it, and it doesn't sound right when I say it.
No.
So I will let you introduce yourself, and then you can go into telling the audience how we met.
Yeah. Well, you said it right.
Okay,
My name
good.
is Arsemiris Galva. A lot of people call me Arsi, as for short. I think it's just a lot easier for people to pronounce, and that's like my nickname since I was young.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, I'm Arsemiris Galva. I'm a life coach, and we were just talking about this. How did we meet? We met a few years ago. If I give it a point of reference, I think it was like maybe 2 years ago. I
Mhm.
want to say we both have had the same business coach, and so in that space, we were able to connect. And I think our faith was what kind of drove us even closer, having a tighter relationship. And I always say that that's an amazing journey because you get to really dive in deeper with the person, right? You're not just getting to know someone on the surface level, but you get
Mhm.
to really get to know the person on a deeper level. And yeah, I was thinking about that. I was like, how did we meet? And I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, we met in a beautiful, I would say, organic way. Like we were learning, we were growing in our business, and then then we transitioned into our faith. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and like my side of the story that I remember is obviously we were on the group coaching calls once a month with Jennifer, and she sometimes would feature you to
Mm,
speak up and share, and it was just like your quiet, calm, I don't know, I guess Holy Spirit led mannerisms.
mm.
And when you spoke, it was just so genuine. And I don't know, I was just like intrigued, or I'm not sure the words. I'm kind of at a loss for words, but it was just like such a settling, you have a settling voice and presence about you.
Oh,
And so then when Jennifer connected us, yeah, we talked a little bit and then we connected on the faith level.
yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. How did you say it again? Holy Spirit.
I don't know. We're
There was
recording, so
I'll
maybe
definitely
I'll
I'll
create
let
a reel about that.
yeah, like, yeah. I'm like, oh, that sounded good. I should have wrote it. I gotta make sure I have my pen and paper here just because I know that as we speak, I know a lot of things are gonna come up. And so yeah. Well, I'm ready when you are.
All right. So, what are your passions?
Mm. I think it's a loaded question that I think has a lot of meaning for many of us, right? I think if I were to point it down to what is my purpose and the way that God has just kind of unfolded throughout the years, is really to be that person that's out in this world helping people break, I would say, cycles.
Mhm.
And by cycles, I mean of past hurt and past pain, and living a life and helping people live a life with more meaning, with more purpose, but from a place that's whole, from a place that has done the work, as they would say,
Mhm.
so that you can effortlessly just show up in the world. Uniquely you, just being you yourself, right? Because that's who we really want to get to know. And so I think that's one of my purposes, to really help people get there. Um, I would say my other purpose in life, and it's funny because I haven't really dived into this one openly. It's been more internally, and this is why I say write this down. Make sure that you're doing a lot of that self introspect work and self evaluation. I think one of my other purpose is really to get to know God, because I think that as I get to know Him, I also get to know myself.
Mhm.
So I would say those two, when I sit down and, I just think about who I am and how I'm showing up in the world, those are my big two purpose here on earth.
Yeah. And so tell us a little bit of background, like how you got into the work that you're doing.
Mm,
Mhm.
okay. So this is where the The chaotic side of my life comes into place. I would definitely say that this work found me. It wasn't like I went out there searching or any, it was almost as if it was brought to me in the most beautiful, subtle way. I was in a place in my life where I felt that I had checked off everything on the list. I had the job, I had the career, the house, the marriage. Like I had everything that we tend to wish for, right?
Mhm.
Um, but deep down inside, I was not happy. Like when I'm saying I was not happy, I was not happy. I remember having one of my alone times, and I was just telling God, I'm like, Lord, there has to be something more than just this because I feel empty inside. Yes,
Mhm.
I had my career and money wise, I was getting paid well. And, again, I was doing life and I was living that good, successful life. And I remember that when I made that prayer, I always say be careful of the prayers that you make because you
Mhm.
might not be ready for the
Yes.
for the response. I would say a few weeks later, one of my cousins, who is a dentist, she reached out and she's like, "Hey, I've been looking at this program, and I really think that we should take it. I think we should consider doing this program." I'm like, "Sure, why not?" Her and I, we really connect a lot when it comes to like growing, whether spiritually or professionally, and this life coaching program came to be about. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. So we do it. I did not know that I was getting certified until I was actually in the program.
Oh.
I just jumped into it. And obviously, as I'm taking the program, I'm like, oh, this is a certification. In the midst of that, I also realized, and I remember telling her this, we were taking this course online at her office. And I looked at her and I'm like, our lives will never be the same. You know that, right? And she's like, yeah, I know. And I think that was like the seed. God used her to plant that seed in me of something that I did not know and I wasn't aware of. I wasn't aware of life coaching or anything in this industry. Um, so I got certified, and as I've continued to work in this industry, it has shifted. But I think life, and this is where we give honor to our lives, past, present, future. Um, it's what's given my career color.
Mm.
So yes, I went through I think this, and some of those people that know me, I was married for 10 years and it was a very, very narcissistic relationship, um, where there was a lot of abuse. And I'm not perfect. I know I did my share as well. But even that gave, it shaped the way that I will execute my purpose here on earth, right?
Mhm.
And the way that I was coaching and who I will coach. At the same time, as you're working on yourself and you're healing, because that's a lot of the work that I do is working with women to help them heal. When I was in that journey, I had to visit the past, my childhood. And
Yeah.
a lot of when I think back, like my relationship with my father was also a huge contributing factor. It had a lot to do with men in my life, the men in my life.
Mhm.
Uh, my father was, if they were to label him as they do out here in the world, he probably would have been labeled narcissistic, very controlling. In the midst of that, very loving though. Um, but those dynamics with these two strong men in my life really shaped even the way that I execute the service that I offer and who I serve. And so all of this kind of just brought me forward to, I had my nonprofit for about 3 4 years, and in that journey I was doing coaching but from a nonprofit side. I remember God would just, it was like the little sprinkles, and it was just that subtle voice, "You're meant to serve women." And I'm
Mm.
like, okay. I'm serving women right now though. But it was
Yeah.
women and men. And it was like, no, at a different level. And I'm like, all right, I don't get it. And so then life begins to happen. And I was married in that relationship, and I learned a lot. I mean, I did counseling for many years. And even in that, I learned. I had coaching, and in that, I learned. And again, it was like a contributing factor of different factors that just began to paint out where I'm at today with my business and the women that I serve, which is again helping people heal from past hurts, whether love or platonic. And so this is where I'm at. And I'm thankful, it's like unfortunately, but fortunately, I'm thankful for the adversities in life. I'm thankful for for my dad, and
Mhm.
my mom as well.
Yes.
But I'm thankful for my dad because it was through their, yes, our ugliness, but working through our ugliness, that I was able to just see the beauty of healing, from two different generations, right?
Mhm.
Coming together to just make peace with a lot of the past traumas that we both had, like my dad and myself, right? And coming
Mhm.
together and making peace with that. And then fast forward the marriage, trying to work, like, although he was Dominican and I'm Dominican as well. I'm Americanized, as they would say. I was born here, he was born over there. So culturally speaking, there was a lot of difference. Um,
Mm.
and so all in all, in essence, to say that God gifted me. I see this as a gift. God gifted me with this purpose, and I don't take it lightly. I love the work that I do, because I know what it is to be in a place of hurt,
Mm.
with the daddy issues or the relationship issues. It's like I
Mm.
take this because I know what could happen if you don't do the work, you know?
Yes.
It's not just you that it affects everything about you. This means your job. This means your calling, your purpose. This means your children, your generation. It's all about you. And so for me, healing and doing this type of work is non-negotiable.
Mm.
It's much needed, right?
Mhm. So I'm a part of your group on Facebook. Do you want to talk a little bit about your programs and your group?
Yeah, so I have a Facebook group called the Warrior Sisters, started back in 2015. It's interesting because in business, you just never know how one thing that you may do may flourish in big and great ways. And I think that this group has been just that. We have women from all over the world that have come to this space and are growing in it's almost like as if they're there and they're growing where they're at in life, right? And so through this platform, which is Facebook, I've been able to meet amazing, amazing women. And it's made it easy for me to serve and for people to get to know me. And, in essence, kind of reach out and say, hey, I want to look into this thing called coaching and see how you can serve me. And so the way I have my programs divided is we work on your mindset, we work on your healing, and then we work on building. And I've divided it in these three ways because I do believe that, yes, you can work on your healing, but if you don't work on the mindset, you'll find yourself, repeating the same cycles over and over again. And
Mhm.
so I focus on the mindset, and then we go into healing, working on the ugly stuff. But I believe that once you've worked on the mindset, you're ready to face this and make the needed changes. And then we build. How can then we now begin to build, whether it's in your business, whether it's in the family, right? Or as a mother, or, as if you have a 9 to 5 as a worker, and all those different areas of life. And so that's a little bit about my programs. The programs, they vary from, I would say, 3 months is a minimum to 6 months. The way that the I would say the way that my program is designed, a lot of my clients, they're just either just doing coaching by itself, or they're doing a combination of two, where they're doing therapy and also coaching. And I think that that's been it's like a marriage.
Mhm. Yeah.
That it's been beautiful to see when I do get clients that are doing both, because you see how one complements the other. And that's
Mhm.
how I see this type of work. When we combine both therapy and coaching, it complements each other. And the results, whether you're doing therapy or not, but the results that you get, they're so beautiful when you actually take that step to say, I'm going to work on myself. And I do say, this type of work cannot be forced. I won't, I'm not going, I know a lot of people have this way of coaching or even getting you to sign up. I'm not going to convince you.
Mm-hmm.
I won't. The Holy Spirit will if it's needed right at that time. But I just wouldn't do that. I know what it is to do this work. I know what it is to get to that place where you're like, I want to give up. But if you don't have that fire and that driving force,
Mm-hmm.
then you are going to give up.
Yeah.
Right. But when you decide it's time, I want to do this, and there's no one else like on the sidelines, it's just you making this solid decision for yourself. I say that's when it's beautiful, because that's when you really you go all out,
Mm-hmm.
no matter the uglies and the goods, because this journey, as you know, there's there's beauty in the darkness, there's beauty in the light. And I think this is what that journey looks like. There's dark seasons and then there's beautiful light seasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
um, but it's all in all, in essence, to say that it's needed work in order for you to go to that next step in life.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So beautiful. Yeah. And I've done a lot of work on myself over the last couple of years, especially knowing you, but just in life and business and, just personal and business growth. And, I'm starting to see the things come to fruition, like planting the seeds and waiting for them to finally sprout something, even a little green thing.
Yeah.
And it's a slow process, but we can't force it, like you said. There's no forcing, there's no convincing. It just takes time to pray on it, to heal it, to fight the good fight.
Yeah, yeah. And I
Mhm.
think it's in those moments where it's almost like life meets you where you're at, God meets you where you're at. And the more you grow, the more that you evolve as who you, let's say you, Sabrina,
Mhm.
the more we get to see that in the way that you show up, in the work that you do, in the way that you serve, and even in the impact that you have in your clients. And so this is why I say it's so crucial that you do this work, that you get to know yourself more, because everything else benefits. Everything else around you benefits,
Mhm.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. So beautiful. And you mentioned gratitude, the gratitude of the situations that you've been through, but it's taught you good lessons. You're able to take that experience and help other women to grow from there. But is there anything else that you want to share with us that you're grateful for right now?
Yeah. It's interesting because yesterday I had my own therapy session, um, and I had a breakthrough.
Hmm.
And I'll share with you guys. I'll be very transparent and vulnerable. I'm in the season where you know, my father is not doing so well, and he's in those last stages. And for a good part of my life, my dad has played such a huge role, and one of them was that protector.
Mm.
And it was interesting that my therapist was able to highlight how I've been protected, right? And now it's like I am finding a new way to now protect myself, right? Myself and also my family. And it's as soon as that came out, I was like, oh my goodness, this is what I've been doing. I just didn't have the words for it, right? That
Mhm.
I've been provided that safety net. And now it's like I'm creating a new safety net. And so I shut down my phone. I literally went after we ended our session, I was like, done, not talking to anyone. I was going to really let this process. Um, and so I would say I'm grateful for her, because God
Mhm.
used her, and God continued to speak to me throughout the last 24 hours, and really just understanding that, even when this type of stuff happens in life, where it's the transitioning of life, we may feel like we're alone. Um, but this is where we also understand where the faith comes, and understanding and holding on to the fact that I will never be alone.
Mhm.
Like, he's been with me throughout this whole time. And when I'm saying he, it's God, right?
Right.
And he uses people, and in this case, it was my therapist, to speak life into those moments where we feel like we're caving in, right?
Mhm.
So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for her. I'm grateful for the work that clinicians do, that coaches do. that come in and kind of like rescue us in those moments of despair or of need, and kind of give us a boost back into life.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, so good. I
mm,
love that. Well, since we talked about your Facebook group, is that the best way that people can get a hold of you or get connected to you?
I would say that's probably like the easiest.
Okay.
It's Facebook. You can find me Arsemiris Galva on Facebook, or just typing in Warrior Sisters, and it's a private group. So once you go in, there'll be a couple of questions that I have set there for you to answer. Once you answer that, I then accept you into the group, and we go from there.
Wonderful. Yeah, and I will definitely put that link to your personal page and to your group in the description and the comments so that people can find you. So thank you so much for being here today and sharing this space with me. I appreciate you and I hope you have a great day. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.